Dong Shui reporting from Beijing there. Well, Kerry Brown is director of the Lao-China Institute at King's College London. I asked him what Cleverly's visit could do to improve ties between the two countries.
It's the first visit from Britain after its leaving the European Union in early 2020. And so it's quite important for Britain bilaterally to create a dialogue where it once did that mostly through the European Union on trade and investment issues. Britain's increased its trade with China and its investments a little bit over the last few years, but there still could be much more done in that area. Mr. Cleverly said this morning in an interview in Beijing that economics and security were the two priorities, but security would take the priority over economics. But I think it's impossible to separate them. Your economics is your security. Your security is dependent on your economics. And I think Britain has got potential to build more economic links with China. And this is obviously an opportunity to explore those and see what could be done in the future.
How do you think the dynamics between the UK and China have changed since that last visit, which was, of course, not that long after the so-called golden era between the two countries was hailed by President Xi and the former British Prime Minister David Cameron?
Sure. Britain and China are pragmatic with each other. I mean, they have been for many, many years. I mean, they have a relationship going back 450 years. So we know a lot about each other, and Britain and China, know how to talk to each other. And despite the fact that there are voices in Britain that are very harshly critical of Mr. Cleverly going, that's really a domestic matter, and I don't think these are realistic. Britain needs to have a dialogue with China. It needs to be pragmatic. It needs to be balanced. And I think this is an opportunity to do that.
Do you think the UK is recalibrating its approach towards China? And if so, what are the driving factors behind this?
Policy towards China has to be balanced with Britain's relations with the European Union, with the United States. It also has to take into account the situation with Russia and Ukraine. I mean, it's a geopolitical issue. And so that has to be constantly changed, and it's got to be nuanced. What we have in Britain, obviously, is a group of politicians who really are speaking more about Britain's domestic situation and wanting to use China as an issue to pursue their own kind of issues here. But it's not practical to say that we can disengage with China. We can't disengage with China any more than we can disengage with the United States or disengage with Europe. We have to have a relationship, and it's the kind of relationship we have and the priorities we give to it and then China gives to it, and then areas of overlap. That's the most reasonable route forward.
The British Parliament has for the first time referred to Taiwan as an independent country in an official document, and this happened during the visit of James Cleverly. Does that send a strong signal?
But I mean, Britain doesn't recognise Taiwan as an independent country. I mean, it recognises the People's Republic of China, and it has a one-China policy. I mean, that's been the policy for a long time. The fact that parliamentarians sometimes don't understand that policy is neither here nor there. I mean, that is the British policy. There's a reference in a document this way. It's almost certainly, I can't imagine that being a change of policy. That's not possible. I mean, the policy is as it's set out, and that's the policy that Mr. Cleverly will be representing in Beijing, which is that there's one China and that Taiwan is a part of China, and that has been